Now we are bringing on Connie S. Fall, and the S is for systems. Connie is the founder and CEO of Entrepreneur Life Global, and her mission is to create sustainable businesses for women, minorities, and veterans through the implementation of systems. For over 15 years, Connie has helped over 1,000 small businesses in the US scale and systemize their operations. She's also been honored by Dell by creating and developing the Regional Ambassador Program, and she's even diversified her offerings and expanded into the federal sector, providing services for various agencies such as the Departments of Veterans Affairs, U.S. Department of Interior, and Army National Guard, just to name a few. On top of all these impressive accomplishments, she is also one of our Trainual ambassadors, one of our top Trainual certified consultants for 2022. And let me tell you, when it comes to systems, Connie is one of the best of the best. So today we're going to dive in with her. Connie, I see you on here. So great to see you, my friend. Welcome to Playbook 2022.
Joe, I'm so happy to see you. Hey.
Hey, I'm so happy to see you too. And I think, yesterday we had so many people tuning in. They're like, I want to know about systems and processes and learn and dive into it. So I think this session is going to be amazing. And as I said before, you being one of the best in the business when it comes to that, I think it's so great. So let's just dive into it right off the bat. When it comes to systems and processes, I mean, you've worked with thousands of small businesses. What are the biggest barriers that businesses have to getting started? And then how do you suggest to overcome that, right? Because there can be a lot of pushback when it comes to either documenting or systemizing. So I guess what are the tools that our business owners can really put in their business to start getting systems rolling?
So I think the biggest thing is that most people just don't even know what they don't know, right? So for them, most of us start off saying, hey, I want to be this, and I have all the processes, answers to make it happen, right? Most of us start off as a hobby, no problem. And then you start making money, and then you have to hire people, and then more people start coming in, then you have to fire people. So I think it's the snowball effect that nobody starts off with that type of intent. It just grows into something that's more profitable and that's bigger and requires a bigger team than we ever realize, right? So I think the number one thing in order for us to get started is just to start writing things down. And I know it sounds very simple, and I know it sounds very easy, but the first step is always just writing things down. Many of us have created businesses that literally came from nothing. So the lady before us, she was talking about coming from out of a trailer park. I think many people have more of a similar story than being raised into money. So we just kind of learn the stuff on the fly. So if we start documenting our processes early as we begin our business, instead of waiting until we're trying to hire and fire.
And it looks like we lost Connie on here. I don't know if the connection was a little spotty in here, but man, I was getting pretty excited about that. I'm sure we'll bring her back in here, but man, just to recap that while we're bringing her back in here, I mean, I think it reiterates a lot of the stuff that Seth Godin mentioned yesterday, right? Oh.
I'm here.
Connie,
Can you guys hear me now? Are you good, Joe?
I can hear you, but I can't see you. And it sounds like your audio is a little choppy.
Okay, give me just a second. Okay, is that better?
I can hear you. I don't know, do you have your video on, Earl? But we can just start diving in, and I guess we can.
I do.
Okay, gotcha.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no worries at all. But I know you talked about the just starting, right? And I know that you're a big proponent of just pick one thing and get started. But you know how sometimes it can be the next question is, hey, how do I get, or where do I even start, right? There's so much in my business. There's my sales team. There's my customer experience journey. There's everything like that. Where can our business owners really start? Oh.
No, I'm here. I could hear you fine.
Awesome. Did you get that last question that I had in there?
No, I did not. I'm sorry.
No worries at all. So basically all I said in terms of the question was where do we start in terms of documenting our processes or getting our system set up?
So I think the place to start is by what creates the most impact and income in your business. Most people are just so excited about all of the things, every single part of their business. But if you choose one thing, one task that's a repeatable task, can be documented and delegated, is where you start. Does everything have to be done? Absolutely. Can everything be done all at once? No. So you choose by impact and income. And here's how I decide how each done. So if I look at impact, my goal is to be able to impact people that impact people, right? So if I'm able to impact those that either have large followings, those that are doing something really great in our communities, that allows me to impact millions of people without me having to directly impact them individually, right? So if I know there's a task that creates the most income for our company, we're able to focus strictly on income generating tasks and documenting the processes for those tasks. And that's where we start.
I love that so much, right? It's like, where's that biggest pain point, or where's the thing that's really going to move the needle for you? Another thing that we kind of took away from some of the sessions yesterday was like, 80% of the things, or 80% of the things in your business that move it forward are really going to be the 20% you should focus on, or sorry, other way around. But anyways, in regards to that, I love how it's just looking at the place in your business to get started and just get it rolling from there. Now, in terms of like must-haves when it comes to systems and processes, right? Like, let's just say someone's like, I'm ready to get started. Are there anything in mind that you've seen really successful businesses in terms of must-haves, what they need in their systems and process or documentation that are really going to set up scalable systems for them?
So one is, we start in our company, we start organizational chart down, right? So most people are like, let's just get into writing SOPs. Most people can't even write those, right? So we start organizational chart down. And the reason why we do that is so that way we can focus on who you need on your team before you're focused on what the tasks are, right? So what happens is, we just know that a bunch of tasks need to be done. People are wearing 100 different hats, right? You answer the phones, you're doing the billing, you're actually doing the work that you do, you're trying to get on Canva and create graphics. Like, literally, you're trying to do every single thing. But if you build out your org chart first, you're able to identify exactly what tasks need, what roles need to be filled. And then you can go and say, okay, these are the job descriptions that I need to create underneath that. And then you could say, okay, great, these are the processes that need to be developed underneath that. Then you can go down and say, these are the policies that support it. And then these are the workflows that we can create for it all to work together. So I think every single level starts org chart down. And I don't think many folks have realized the importance of org charts, because we think of ourselves as small businesses, right? So as small businesses are considered anything under $30 million. That means if you make $29,999,099, you are considered a small business. Small business, we're like, oh, it's just me and my aunt and my uncle Gerald and one of my friends, and we're just doing everything that we can. But if you really recognize what your company needed, you'd be able to build out an org chart that allowed you to know exactly what tasks and roles that you needed for your company. So that's where we like to start.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I think it's so powerful, right? Because it's one where, people want to start documenting the process right away. But I've heard you say before, and it's something that's super powerful. It's like, if you don't have a vision of where you're going, it's kind of hard to like see the long-term view of the system that you're trying to set up. Now, I know with org charts too, when you talk about setting one up, right? You talk about not just the importance of setting up your current org chart, but also an aspirational or future org chart, right? Tell us a little bit more about that and what that kind of looks like for someone who's looking, at the 5-10 year long-term view of their business, when they're starting to systemize and document everything that they do.
So one, I'm all about not recreating the wheel. So if you know that you have a marketing agency, you need to do the research to find out what's the industry standard, right? What does it look like for the marketing company that you admire, that you absolutely love, and that you think is so amazing? How many people do they have on their team? How many people are working for them? Because in reality, we don't understand. Most of us may think, okay, great, it's 20 people. You may look and find out in the future, they actually have 75 people. They may have 100 people that are working literally day in and day out. And if your mindset can't even process thinking of 5 people, what's happening is you'll create something that's too small versus what you need to create. So what we're looking for when we bring our clients on is, where are they looking to grow? Not where you are, but where are you looking to grow to, right? Because what happens is, if you come in and you're like, oh, well, I only have these 5 people right here, your mindset gets locked there. Your mindset gets locked into thinking, oh my gosh, I just need these 5 people. No, you probably need 17 people, because you have these 5 people working every single job and answering phones and sending out graphics and replying to emails, when really they should just be focused on the one task that they should be responsible for. But again, if you don't understand org chart down what the roles are looking forward, you will have no understanding of where you're looking to grow the company.
So good. So good. And I love the quote that you mentioned there. It's like, hey, like, you think you need 5 people, but you might need 15, especially like when you start to look at like all the different responsibilities and areas of the business, and like having that mapped out clearly allows you to like plan ahead and really get the right documentation in place and kind of have that going forward. Now, sometimes like we hear all the time with some small business owners, it can be tough to kind of like delegate things out, right? Whether it's like the process of delegating things out might just be a little clunky, or maybe, some people don't want to let go of a certain thing that they really, really like to do or anything like that. How do you go about delegating in the most efficient way for businesses when they're implementing their systems and processes?
So I think one of the scariest things is delegation. Most of us were raised to believe that we can do everything ourselves. So before we even get to the actual steps, we have to break down the mindset. And I know that that's like a really popular word, right? Everybody's focused on mindset. When in reality, that's where it starts. Because if I can't get you to tell me the simple instructions on a task, chances are the bigger instructions you'll never let go of, right? You'll be so panicked about trying to share exactly how your business is run because you're afraid that somebody's going to steal your secret sauce. When in the reality is, when you look at large corporations, if you look at a KFC, what people don't realize is that KFC has all of their secret ingredients. They're making that in the kitchen. The chicken doesn't just come frozen all the time, right? So they're literally mixing in seasonings, and you have kids running those companies, right? Doing the day-to-day operations. So those scary secrets that you're nervous to give out about your candle making company or your process company, those scary secrets that you're afraid to delegate are the ones that are going to be able to push your business forward because you're able to delegate and train somebody else to do it. So even though I know the delegation process is important, it's even more important to have your mindset prepared to say, I'm not doing this because I don't respect my company. I'm not doing this and sharing the secret that I feel like is going to give me anxiety. You're doing this because this is how you scale and grow your brand. Scaling and growing your brand starts with people, right? If you have an e-commerce company, you can go and throw all the ads behind it that you want to. That's wonderful. But when you're talking about service-based companies, like my company is, if I don't have more people, I can't serve more people. And if I can't serve more people, I cannot scale. I can grow, which my friend Madi is very specific about the difference between growth and scale. Growth is when you make more money, but your expenses go up. However, scaling is when you make more money, but your expenses level out. So if you're making more money and your expenses are high, I can make $100,000. But if my expenses are still 80, if I'm at 1 million, if my expenses are still quantifiable by that way, I'm still making the same amount of money. So if I'm not expanding my team, I'm not growing the company itself. So delegation is imperative because that allows you to bring more people onto your team, which in turn allows you to be able to serve more people.
Yeah. And I like that you touched on the mindset piece of it, right? It's like getting your mindset around what delegation means to you. Like, it doesn't mean giving away your secrets, or does it mean like scaling your company, and emphasis on the scale part being different than growth, because, we just heard from Candy Valentino talk about something very similar. It's like, if you're not really seeing the actual growth that is going into your business and really gabbing it on a scalable level, that's going to sustain some profits. It's going to be kind of tricky and tough. Now, we talked about earlier in the beginning to kind of mesh some things together and get a little tactical into the nitty gritty, right? You mentioned that in order to delegate, we need to document things. And sometimes, like with documentation, SOPs, it can get a little difficult, or you said like sometimes people don't know the best way to document. So if I'm a business owner right now and I'm saying, hey, Connie, I have my sales process that I need to document here. What would you advise me to do in order to really craft an SOP that's able to really be in an effective system once I implement it?
Well, of course, I'm going to say you need to log on to Trainual because they already have amazing templates.
You are the best.
Love Trainual, right? But in addition to that, I like to simplify things because, again, I will be transparent, and you'll see it on all of my social media that I've always struggled with ADHD. So knowing what steps are next are imperative to me not having an anxiety attack, right? So me being calm and being present is all surrounded about systems, my personal systems. When it comes to business, if I know what every single step is coming ahead of me, I feel less anxiety and I feel more prepared, right? So in order to take the scariness out of the word systems, oh my God, they said systems. What kind of system are you talking about? In order to remove that fear, all you're doing is creating a checklist of exactly how you want something done. What's step one? What's the first thing? What's the second thing? And when you put these things in order, it becomes an SOP. Now you can add all the beautiful jargon, the business jargon. You can make it sound fancy. You can do all of these wonderful things. And yes, Chad, that's exactly how we utilize it when we talk to our community. It is a recipe. So if you understand that step one, step two, step three is there, and you're like, I don't need step two. I don't really need that. I'm gonna go step one to step three. And then you miss it. You miss step two, you're going to tank whatever that process was that you were looking at. And my example I always use, let's just make a cake, right? So the things that we remember that are really easy, we always think of flour, sugar, and butter, right? We think of vanilla. But then when you're also thinking about building an entire beautiful, yummy pound cake, you'll forget that there's baking soda or baking powder. You forget the small things. And what if you put the wrong measurement in? So even if I have the right ingredient, but the wrong measurement, the cake is still going to come out wrong. So if I put every single thing, every single ingredient in, but I forget one, if I forget baking powder, the cake is going to be flat, right? So that one thing that's really small, and that's the smallest measurement of ingredients for baking a cake, but it also causes the cake to rise. So if I just forget that one little thing, I'm going to have a flat, disgusting cake. So the goal is to make sure that you documented every single process so well that anybody can come in and duplicate exactly what you've asked for them to do. So whether you're going to make the perfect cake or you're going to make the perfect process, they know every single step that goes into creating it. So for those of you guys that, especially in the startup space, if you're really not understanding what is step one, I want you to do an example. I do with all of my clients. I make them write down every single step that it takes to go outside and start a car. Now, most of us, we do this every day. We go outside, we hop in the car, but you don't realize how many steps there are in between from where you're standing on the inside of the house to going outside and turning the ignition on the car. Let's just say there's probably a good 78 steps in between indoors to starting the car. And if in your mind, your first thing is, you just walk outside and start it. That's how you create an improper process. Our goal is to create the perfect process. So that's an exercise that you guys can use, because what ends up happening is we end up mistreating people. We end up firing VAs and thinking that they don't know what they're doing. And because sidebar, VAs are not magical unicorns. Shout out to my partner, Stephanie Brinkley. She's very specific on making sure that people understand how you properly train and treat your virtual assistants, because they're not unicorns. But you have all of these, accept these rules that you think that they should already understand, when in reality, common sense is not common. Systems are. So if you have the documentation right, you won't have to fire people. You can properly hire and train people, so that way they can help move your business forward.
Oh, I'm so glad that, we ended on that common sense is not systemization thing, because I was going to ask you about that, because when I first heard that and I was wearing headphones, I think my headphones melted, because that comment was just so fire, like for real. And so I love that, because I think, we can always think like, oh, they know this is common sense, but if we don't have it clearly documented all the time, we might not bake the right cake. We might not close the deal on the sale. We might not be able to have the best customer experience in there. So I love that you had that exercise in there too, because when we were in, your live event back in July, you told people, you said, hey, like, give me the instructions to walk to your car, and people were leaving out the small details, and you were kind of pointing it out, and it was such a great thing. Well, Connie, I'm excited to see you again in Atlanta for your next conference in October, which I'm super excited about. And thank you so much again for coming on. And we persisted through the technical difficulties here. The value is still amazing. And Connie, you are incredible, my friend. Thank you so much for this.
You're welcome, Joe. I'm here to be of service whenever I can.
Awesome, Connie. Well, thank you so much again for hopping on here today. And everybody here, how was that? That was incredible, right? Like, I mean, it's so awesome here. As you know, in 2022, we are in the land of Zoom troubles, but we persisted on. We got some great value in there. And Connie is amazing. Be sure to follow her on social. She is just an incredible wealth of knowledge when it comes to systems and process.